Secretly recorded from deep inside the bowels of a decommissioned missile silo, we bring you the man, one single man who wants to bring light to the darkness and dark to the lightness. Although he's not always right, he is always certain. So now, with security protocols in place, the protesters have been forced back behind the barricades and the blast doors are now sealed. Without further delay, let me introduce you to the host of Hutcast, Mr. Tim Hutner.
Thank you, Sergeant at Arms. You can now take your post. Today on Hutcast, we have a special guest today, Gene German from www.permittocarry.us. That's 612-388-2403. Gene is going to update us on his training program and how it applies to you. Other states involved, check with your legals on those. There will be a disclaimer in front of each show so you guys know what and what not to do. Again, permittocarry.us. Look them up, check them out. This is a mini-series, guys, so you're going to have a number of shows behind this. Feel free to tune in. Thanks again for Hutcast. We'll be with you shortly. For home and workplace comfort, we here at Dependable Heating and Air Conditioning have over 30 years of residential and commercial experience in replacing, repairing, and doing general maintenance on your heating and cooling equipment. Call the experts at Dependable Heating and Air Conditioning. For all your indoor comfort needs, we are located in Coon Rapids and serve the entire Twin Cities area. Call one of our professional technicians today at 763-757-5040. That's Dependable Heating and Cooling. Again, 763-757-5040, Dependable Heating and Air.
Leosa Trainers Incorporated and its certified firearms instructors are not attorneys and therefore do not provide any specific legal advice. The legal information contained in this information is general, non-specific information and should not be construed as legal advice to be applied to any specific factual situation. As the law differs in each legal jurisdiction, it may be interpreted or implied differently, depending upon your location or your situation. This training is not a substitute for the advice of your attorney.
Welcome back to Hutcast. Gene German in the studio today, and he is a trainer. He is the guy who tells the guys how to behave out on the street, including us as a permit to carry people. Gene, we're going to start out this section as left from the last one. Carry for women, you got her.
You know, a lot of ladies think they have to buy an entirely new wardrobe if they want to carry a gun, and that's really not true. One of my instructors in Wisconsin, who is a woman, would, about an hour into her class, start pulling guns out from all over the place. She'd carry like 7 or 8 guns. And the students in the class didn't know she had that many guns on and didn't see them. And she was just taking out here and there. So there's really 3 types of basic types of guns. There's a level 1, a 2, and a level 3. A level 1 holster requires retention only. It's kind of molded around the gun. A level 2 includes a strap as well across the back of the firearm. And a level 3 would add a button that you would twist. Typically, these are the types of holsters that you'd find police using. So for those of us that are armed citizens, we recommend that a level 2 holster probably would do. Hip holsters are a great idea. If you're a female, you need to buy a hip holster that's made for ladies, and they ride higher and they can't forward. Your hips are not the same as ours. So you need to, a man's holster isn't going to be suitable for you. I like pocket carry. If you take a gun out, it needs to be in a holster, but there are pocket holsters that fit into your pocket. So if you have slacks that have deep enough pockets, at least, you can take a small firearm and put it in here, and it'll be smooth on the outside of your body, but the gun will be inside, so no one can see the...
So like a wallet.
Looks like a wallet. Nobody can see the print of the firearm. If there's a fanny pack, it's a gun. It's not the fashion statement that it was in 1970.
If you're carrying a fanny pack, don't carry a gun.
Make sure the gun's in it.
other forms of carry.
There's thigh holsters. There are T-shirts. These are typically items that you're not going to find at the sporting goods stores. You're going to need to go to places like Stryker's, which is a cop shop, and they cater to police. But police come in both versions, male and female. So you'll find items there that you wouldn't necessarily find elsewhere.
Let's not forget the gender neutrals.
I don't know what we can do for them.
The 4473, as of last year, changed to include non-binary.
I know.
Yeah.
But I have 2 binary triggers, so what does that say?
Ah, there it is.
I don't know.
For you that don't know what a binary trigger is, it is a trigger group that once depresses the forward motion, gives it a fire, and releasing gives it a fire. So that's what binary means in the trigger world.
So it goes most fast.
It's like a bump stock replacement.
Similar.
Yeah.
But there are the T-shirts and jackets that have the lining that open up. So you don't necessarily have to recreate your wardrobe in order to find a suitable way to carry a firearm.
And the purses now.
There are purses that you open up and there's a section in there that you can stow a firearm.
You literally put your hand in the back of the purse. And as I tell my clients, I says, look, you are not going to have time to pull the gun, shoot through your purse.
Right. So you'll get one shot maybe.
Yes, especially if you're doing a semi-auto, you probably won't ratchet the next round. But if you're a semi or if you're a pistol with a revolver,
Hammerless,
you will.
Yep.
Yeah.
So it depends on the gun.
Yes.
I like one of the things that I happen to like about pocket carry is, let's say that you're getting off of an elevator in a parking ramp in it's night, and you see a group of people kind of loitering in the area. You can put your hand in your pocket and grab the grip of the firearm and be ready to deploy it if you should need to, and you're not letting them know what you're doing. So it's very discreet.
Yeah. I just have a problem personally with putting a gun inside a wallet inside your pants and then trying to deploy it in a nanosecond.
Well, you can. I mean, they're made not to come out when you deploy the gun. So the gun will leave the holster. And again, if your hand's already on it, you've eliminated some of the time that would have otherwise been required to get your hand on that gun to deploy it.
Right. So, I know a lot of guys who pocket carry without that wallet piece.
Yeah, that's dangerous if you got your car keys in the same pocket and you're taking them out and you grab the trigger and...
Well, those are the guys who don't chamber. So you still have to rack it.
Well, and there you are. You're losing time either way.
Yeah. I
don't carry a gun without everything ready to go. I don't have to rack it. I don't have to find out if I don't carry my .357. There's a bullet underneath the hammer all the time.
Ammunition.
It's really something that I think you need to have an owner's manual for, particularly if you buy a used firearm. Go online and get the owner's manual and consult that to see what they recommend that you use for the ammunition for that particular firearm. Some ammunition is not suitable for firearms and some are just fine, but you should know what they are. If you're following the manufacturer's guidance on what kind of ammunition you should be using, you should not have any issues with the district attorney accusing you of using the most lethal ammunition known to man if this is what the manufacturer says you should be using in that firearm.
Dinosaur ammo, yep.
And use hollow points. And again, some states may or may not allow those, but if they do, use hollow points. They're designed for self-defense. They're not going to, take down these big animals at long distances. That's not what they're for. But carry factory ammunition. I don't want to offend those of you who hand load, because I know you probably are making ammunition that's just as good as, or maybe even better than what the stores are selling. But it's not a matter of quality. It's a matter of ballistics. And having that conversation on a witness stand is not something you want. The problem with your hand-loaded ammunition is if you, let's say you have 12 rounds in your magazine and you use 2, the other 10 cannot be tested. It's called destroying evidence, and the court won't let them do that. So, in my case, I'm carrying Speer short barrel gold dot personal defense ammunition. They can go back to Speer, buy more ammunition just like that, and test that. And the court will say that there's no reason to believe Spear made what I carried and what I bought any differently than what they tested.
So why are you worried about that?
Well, because you can be accused of things that you can't prove.
Well, wouldn't that be a good thing? So if I make a plus P out of a non-plus P round and it's more lethal and you can't destroy evidence, kind of preponderance of evidence on their half.
The point is that they can accuse you of building ammunition more lethal than you built.
But it's not what they accuse, it's what they can prove, right?
They don't have to prove it because you can't test it.
I just think it wouldn't be a feather in their cap, it'd be one in yours.
No, I don't think so. Masada Ub would disagree with that, believe me. and he's an expert witness in many, many cases.
Interesting.
And I've had that conversation with him, and he's just dead set against carrying hand-loaded ammunition.
Wow. Practice with what you carry. We've had that discussion.
I've already mentioned that.
Yeah, and then make seasonal adjustments for clothing.
Well, you've talked about plus P or plus P plus, and if you're carrying a 9mm, if you're even carrying a 380, for example, in the wintertime, the bullet has more work to do because it's got more barrier material to penetrate, more clothing. And your 380 is maybe fine against a cotton shirt in the summertime, but what if you have to go through a leather coat or a down parka in the wintertime? It would be nice to give that bullet more of a chance to do its job by putting plus P or plus P plus in there.
I see here you got one of the slides as a HydroShock. What is the difference you like between HydroShock? Do you use any semi-wad cutters?
Well, HydroShock is really the only point to that is that post is there to keep that hollow point from filling up and acting like round nose ball, acting like target ammo.
And semi-wad?
I carry those in a 40.
Okay.
I mean, if that's what they are, that's fine. But different manufacturers have different ways of doing it. The spear that I have in this 357 has a mouth on it that's probably half again the size of that Fedro we just looked at.
And we're looking at a slide. It says full metal jacket, round nose, full leads. Nobody shoots full leads through their gun. Don't do it.
No, and some calibers are made that way. 38 Colt comes certainly like that. This is a view of what a hollow point actually looks like once it's expanded. It's about double the original diameter of the ammunition.
Now, mind you, it's coming out of a barrel at a stupid speed. It is rotating, and it is going to cup and fill whatever it hits. It's going to explode. So join us, class, to jump on the videos of this and enjoy these because they're quite educational. All right, so we got the review. I don't think we need to go through too much review, and we're 10 minutes into this, Rod. So let's do some of the mechanics of carrying.
Okay. Well, there's some things that you need to know if you're just going to negotiate yourself in a society that's largely unarmed as an armed citizen. And advice is don't be the center of attention. You don't have to bring attention to yourself that you're armed. I have a subdued firearm. If I'm going to openly carry, I would suggest that you get a subdued firearm and subdued holster. No pearl-handled, chrome firearm with the gold trigger, all blinged up. Just keep it simple. Keep it.
That's for at the range.
Yes, yes. We have a permit to carry law in Minnesota. Other states allow either concealed or openly carried firearms as well. And there's benefits both ways. And it really doesn't make any difference to me if you openly carry, if you're concealed, as long as you're able to take care of yourself. If you use a restroom, and that sometimes comes up when you're out in public that you need to stop and use the facilities, please don't leave the gun behind when you leave. A lot of times that happens to people that have been carrying guns for many, many years. I've seen that happen myself. And there are, as I said, every state has rules, has laws about leaving guns or making guns unavailable to minors. And if you leave a gun in a bathroom and a kid goes in to use the facility after you've been there, what could have been just an oops turns into something considerably more serious. Mm-hmm. So please don't leave that gun behind if you use restroom.
Well, yeah, if you got them on your waist and you got a belt and it loops through there, I could see where that'd be a thing.
Well, I don't mess with my gun. I just leave it in the holster, and people know I'm armed anyway. So if they see it laying on the floor, who cares?
Right. You got a slide here. Where can I carry? And except where you can't.
Anywhere except where you can't.
Right.
When we were repassing the law in 2005, one of the senators, who was an anti-gunner, tried to change the statute that said you could only carry a gun where you were invited to be armed. And we politely reminded him that's not the way it works in a free society. So that used to be kind of tongue-in-cheek humor, but there's some fact behind it that, if you knew it, there was a time when people were trying to eliminate our ability to carry except where we weren't supposed to.
And we did cover some of these in a previous show.
Yep.
So we can push through those. Wasn't Limmer, was it? Senator Limmer?
No, it was Wes Scoglin.
Oh, boy.
Limmer was one of the guys in our corner. He's a jerk, but he...
Yeah, I suppose.
I was standing at his office doorway, and somebody else was in his office. And I was just standing there waiting for him to say something. And he looked up at me. And I said, okay, well, I have this for you. And he got mad. He said, can't you say I'm in a meeting? I said, well, you looked up at me. Like, what was I supposed to do? You idiot.
I've had senators on the show, and I would have conversations with them. You'll be surprised how many people, and he's going to be listening to this, so, don't take this wrong, are making laws and decisions on our gun freedoms and rights that really don't engage guns rights. They don't carry. They don't have.
Oh, I know.
So I'm thinking to myself, if I need car help, I'm not going to go to the proctologist. I'm going to go to the guy who works on cars, and vice versa. I don't want no proctologist fixing my car. Wow, I was quite amazed, but I was honored that he would pick me and say, hey, tell me what's going on with this. What should I know?
Mm-hmm.
And I hope that he listens to the show. He's pretty busy. He probably won't, but at least I had to throw that out there. So give these guys some slack because they don't carry. They don't know. I have had one senator spew up some crap on social media. And I said, well, I'll tell you what. You're so against it. I will give you a gun, but you got to take and go through all the training and classes of what it takes to get one. So if you think that you can just go on eBay and buy one and have it sent to you, you're absolutely wrong. But I promise you, I will give you a gun, but you got to go through and do it. He never took me up on that.
I've heard stories where libs have decided they're going to go buy a gun, and they were appalled at the process.
Yes.
They thought this was, they believed their own lies. They're pathological liars. But they believed what they thought they'd been saying until they actually went and tried it, and they found out they were wrong.
Well, I did an episode on the loophole. I don't know if you've listened to that one. And I wanted to go in as Joe Blow Public and buy a gun from a non-dealer. Well, the law is very specific in this. The law says if you routinely engage in acts of commerce and you follow the show from show to show to show, you are not selling your private inventory. You are in retail mode. And I come up to this guy and I recorded it, and I had it on a previous show, and I says, hey, I'm looking to buy this gun. It says no paperwork. And if you listen to the show, I don't want to hang the guy because again, I'm pro 2A, but I just thought, nah, these libs, these Dems they're wrong about this. And it comes out I was wrong. He was willing to sell it to me, but he says, well, you got to have a permit to carry or acquire. I said, hold on here now. But you're not going to run it, so why would you need a permit to carry? So I can see if you're good or not. I said, it doesn't mean that I'm good to do it. It just means I have one. You'll still sell me.
Well, a permit to carry replaces the permit to acquire. So
right.
They're the same document, basically. But for a transfer, at least.
Well, he wasn't transferring. He said, I'll write up an invoice. I said, that's not legal. So I didn't want us guys in the 4473 world to get a black eye because this guy decided to do this. And he says, well, without a doubt, I sell a little above everybody else as a normal dealer because I don't want to step on their business. Well, we have the laws in place. We're not enhancing them, and we're not using them.
Mm-mm.
So why would you have this law if you're not going to enforce it?
I don't buy that argument. He's selling above the others because he can.
Yes.
because the guy that can't go there and buy theirs is going to have to come to him and pay his price.
Isn't that something?
No, I know that deal. The other thing is about gun shows is these guys are not stupid. They know the ATF has got plants all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
One of my friends, one of my instructors is also a friend, but he works a lot of the gun shows.
Okay.
And he said he had an ATF agent come in. He says, I know this guy was an ATF agent, the way they were handling it. And they sold him this World War II something, a collectible for cheap. For cheap. And then somebody else came back that afternoon asking if they had that gun to sell. And he says, it was under the table and I wasn't going to sell it. But they knew damn well that they were trying to set him up as being a gun dealer, buying guns from one guy and turning around and selling it to somebody else.
So it was a plant.
It was a plant. So the ATF gave up a good gun for cheap.
Which they probably got on a seizure anyway.
Yeah, I mean,
I was, again, I didn't want to side with the Dems on this or the red flag stuff, but I had to find out for myself. And again, you can listen to it in a prior episode, the gun loophole one.
Mm-hmm.
But I was kind of bummed out that, they're right, but I needed to know this for myself. And they weren't right, but they were right.
Mm-hmm.
So this guy was, and then after I was all done, I sold this guy my license, and he goes, well, you're a dealer anyway, so we can do business. Well, I don't need you, a non-dealer, to do a business with a dealer.
Mm-hmm.
I don't need your authorization or okay. You just want to tell me if you're going to sell it, and then the feds do the rest of the work.
Mm-hmm.
But he out and out openly broke the law.
Mm-hmm.
And I says, do you normally go to these shows? He goes, I go to all of them. Well, oh, ding.
Mm-hmm.
So I kept the guy's name out of it. I don't even know whose name is. So if you want to subpoena me at this point, I don't remember. Whoever's listening. But the law's there. It's a real deal. This proctologist doctor had some input there. Oh, you can just go to any gun show and buy them. Well, you can't. There was one dealer in the whole place, and there was like 60, 80 dealers.
Mm-hmm.
And the rest were, selling crap, lasers and holsters and Civil War junk.
Mm-hmm.
But he was right. And that one guy should be dealt with. But what do you do?
Well, they're trying to find him. I mean, the ATF is going to these gun shows trying to set these guys up so they can nab them.
Yeah, but stitches get snitches, and I am not going to be that guy to call it in.
Well, no, you wouldn't. They're sending their own people. I mean, these are all ATF people.
There's a sign on the counter. No paperwork. There's no. Helen Keller could have found that guy.
Mm-hmm.
So I get that.
Well, they got to be there. I mean, if they're not at that show, then they're going to miss their chance. But
yeah,
I don't know if they're at every one. But
I was bummed out. It really bothered me. But I recanted and I told my senator buddy. I said, look, it's a real thing. It does happen. It's very rare. 99.9% of the dealers there were all on the up.
So is it a problem worth fixing?
It is.
Okay. So it isn't that rare.
Yeah.
If it's a problem worth fixing.
It's a problem worth fixing.
Yeah.
And again, the rest of us dealers who do this on the up and go through the endless forms and background checks, it was a slap in my face.
Mm-hmm.
So you have currently 28 states that recognize Minnesota permits from reciprocity. Am I getting that right?
Well, there's a difference between reciprocity and recognition. Reciprocity would be Minnesota says we'll recognize you if you recognize us, and that doesn't happen very often.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the states just recognize our permits rather than we have a formal reciprocal agreement with them. So there's about half the country, a little better, that recognizes a Minnesota permit. So it isn't every place, but it's considerably, the majority, a lot of the parts of the country where I travel, at least, the coasts are East Coast, West Coast are, for the most part, not much worth.
No, we don't care. It goes up there anyway, right?
No.
And if you travel like I do, and you're in an RV and you're crossing state lines, remember, check those before you go. It's a quick check. You can do it on the Gov website, GOV website, and it's very easy to find. Do you have your own website for that?
The website that I prefer to use is handgunlaw.us.
Okay.
And it's maintained by a lot of volunteers, but it's pretty well kept up. And it's free. You can go on that particular website. It's handgun law, not laws, law.us. Mm-hmm. Click on any state, and it'll give you the the hot smoky dope on all their laws, and the Attorney General's office if you need to call them and ask questions, and state statutes and what the rules are relative to alcohol and all the rest of it.
We've also covered carrying under the influence. We don't need to go there yet.
Nope.
It sounds very aggressive. We've done the review, application form, and process. So we are, 22 minutes, 45 seconds into this one. I think we should do the application form and process in a separate section. What you thought on that?
I don't know that we need the application form and process at all.
Okay.
Because that's just paperwork.
Right. What I'll do then is let me take Hutcast off air for a moment for our sponsors. We'll come back with the next section. Hutcast again appreciates Gene coming into the studio. Stand by. We'll be right back.
In today's busy world, staying healthy and alert have become essential for those of us who want to get the most out of ourselves. So before you reach for that energy drink, ask yourself, are you really giving your body the best? If you want the energy without the jitters that commonly come from today's most popular energy drinks, then reach for something better. Reach for Super Fuel. Super Fuel is made by Casmo Incorporated. Super Fuel is a healthy boost. Super Fuel is made with vitamins B6, B12, and taurine, that is a amino acid that aids in weight loss and protects heart tissue. Beetroot powder and other healthy ingredients that will give you a quick, healthy boost. Make Super Fuel a great tasting, low-calorie addition to your daily regimen. Super Fuel by Casmo Incorporated. It can be ordered by visiting our website at www.superfuel.me or calling 833-383-5912. That's right, Super Fuel by Casmo Incorporated at www.superfuel.me or calling 833-383-5912. Super Fuel.
Welcome back to Hutcast. Gene German is in the studio today. We left off, and we're going to pick up on negligent discharge, accidental discharge. Go ahead, Gene.
Well, these two terms are used interchangeably, and they're really not. Negligent discharges are common, and typically they're a human failure to perform at least one safety rule. And the rule that's violated more often is to know the condition of the firearm before you do anything else with it. So the first thing you should do when you pick up a gun is assume that it's loaded and do a clearing procedure. That'll tell you if you're right or wrong. And if it's unloaded and you can verify its condition as being unloaded, then it's impossible to shoot it. It's impossible to have an accident with it. An accidental discharge, on the other hand, is either a mechanical failure of the firearm or the ammunition. And it happens, but it's very rare.
Remington 700 had an accidental discharge, and they made a recall on all their trigger groups.
Mm-hmm. A handgun doesn't just go off. It's really something you got to work at. You got to load it. You got to press the trigger. So if you assume from now on that every firearm is loaded until you've proven its condition, it's unlikely that you're ever going to have a problem. To perform a clearing procedure accomplishes three things. It unloads the gun, it verifies the condition of the gun as unloaded, and then it prepares you to do whatever you're going to do next. If it's going to be reloaded and continue to shoot, perhaps hand it to somebody else so they can shoot it, clean it, or perhaps store it.
Mm-hmm. We did the cleaning procedures for revolver semi-automatic.
So never point a firearm in a direction that you don't intend to shoot. You should keep your finger off the trigger until you've acquired a target, you know it's beyond your target, and you're ready to shoot. So if you're going to hand a gun back and forth between two people, the first thing you need to do is make the handgun inoperable, and you do that by either locking the slide open or swinging out the cylinder. The base of the gun should go toward the person that's receiving it, and the barrel should be pointed down or to the side, depending upon what direction might be the safest. So always maintain control of your firearm. So if you're taking a gun out into the public, you should always use a holster. Really don't recommend off-body carry. That's where the gun might be stored in your glove box in your vehicle, for example. I don't think we need to cover storage.
Okay.
So with kids, if you have children in your life, safe storage really is a must. Take the mystery out of guns. If they're interested in talking about guns and you're just watching a show on TV, turn off the TV and give them the respect that they're giving you for asking to talk about the firearm. The NRA has an Ed Eagle program, which is really a good program. But help them clean it. If you're at the range and you come home and you're taking the gun apart and showing them all the parts, if they're curious about it, let them help you clean the gun and explain what they are.
Tell everybody what snake bite is.
Snake bite is serious.
Pay attention, people.
I've had students put their thumb across the back of the pistol and not along the side where it belongs. And the edges on that slide are very, very sharp. And I remember one gentleman that we had in an instructor's class, and he insisted on doing this. We insisted on making him stop. And finally I thought, something, you're going to only learn the hard way, so you just do it your way. And about 60 stitches later, all the way down to the bone, we finally convinced him that he shouldn't be doing that.
And if you guys never been bit, you're lucky, but he said they're very sharp, and they are sharp.
They are.
They're a finish that is so micron down there that once it catches, it's over, and there's plenty of energy to go and cut your thumb open.
Yeah.
So let's jump into the range rules.
Well, the range rules are, for me at least, kind of simple, and they've maybe been developed over time because I don't have eyes in the back of my head. So I only shoot with one individual at a time. Everything happens on the firing line at the point. We uncase guns, do our work, clear the firearm, put it back in the case, and then take it off the point. While we're on the firing line, the muzzles need to be kept downrange all the time. There's really nothing that we do in terms of loading and unloading a magazine, for example, that requires them to be moving that barrel all over the place. There's 3 different stances that typically people use. The one that our students use is called an isosceles. That's where you're standing squared up to the target, and your arms are straight out in front of you with the gun in your hand, and your arms kind of form a triangle. And that's where that comes from. The reason why this is a good stance is that's the natural, I think, stance if you're facing a threat to begin with. But you can also use isometrics to clamp that gun in your palm, and you get a better shot group if you'll do that. You're using your shoulder muscles to actually clamp the gun rather than your fingers, and your shoulders are typically stronger, so you'll be able to hold it tighter and get more control over that firearm.
Okay. This is off book now. You have these people are going to be listening to this, and again, in every county, every state has their own rules. What is your big takeaway from this for people to pay attention to? This is the simple stuff.
The big takeaway. Let's see. Well, my personal opinion is that they should be able to find training or seek out training where they're going to be given what they need to know to live as an armed citizen in this society without getting themselves into trouble.
Mm-hmm.
Too many people are looking for just that little piece of paper to get their permit, and they're only looking at how cheap can I get it. There's some guy down the street for $59, and I'll do that. I heard a story recently where somebody got their classroom training in the car on the way to the range.
Now, if they're repeat people for you and they're going to buy the next 5 years of permit to carry, do you put them through the whole process?
Everybody.
Every time?
I don't have a renewal class different than my normal class. There's a reason for that. I meet a lot of people that other folks have trained, and they're in for their renewal, and I want to know what baseline they have.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't do any shortcuts. And things have changed. The class that we give today is not the same as it was 5 years ago. We update it. We stay current with things as they develop. We added the book. I think the last edit was just a month or so ago.
Mm-hmm. Wonderful book, by the way.
Thank you. So I think quality is important, and too many people just look at the price.
Do you want to cheap out on what could happen if you didn't?
Yeah, they're going to find out that $50 class is the most expensive class they ever took in their life.
Worth millions, I would imagine.
Easily.
So, where is your book located, and can they get it other than the training?
No.
So I see you have a barcode on here with an ISBN on it. So you've obviously registered with UPCs.
I have it copyrighted as well.
Okay. Give everybody information on how to get a hold of you.
The easiest way to go about finding me is to go to my website, permittocarry.us, and there's a contact me link that they can click on, and I'll get an email. Provide me with your contact information and what you're interested in knowing about, and then I'll reach out to you, and we can discuss whatever it is that you need to discuss.
You also, let's mention in this, because we're going to spotlight you now, you have another class, which is what called?
Well, we have a defensive dwelling and self-defense in the home course, and that course is designed primarily for people who want to beef up their security at home and may not want to carry a gun in public all the time. Mm-hmm. We focused on this to hopefully avoid the need to ever use a gun in your home if you do everything else that you can do to prevent somebody from even trying to intrude into your home. The fact is, nobody really wants to live in a home that doesn't look nice. But by doing that, you're also creating an attractive nuisance because you're giving the impression there might be something inside worth taking. So it's, how do you live in a world where you can live in a nice home but also be secure in it?
Let's ask McCloskey's.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you've covered everything. We appreciate you coming in to Hutcast. Again, we're in 40-ish countries. We've got every avenue that you can possibly get your podcasts on. Would you be interested in doing a show about the second half of your business someday?
Sure.
Because I believe that would be even more beneficial to the people who don't carry and don't believe in Second Amendment. That maybe that's, and this is worldwide, because literally you could do this anywhere. So I think we have less change doing this.
Well, the Second Amendment is one thing. Being safe is what everybody wants.
Yeah.
And how they go about it is what's different. I happen to believe that I want all the tools available to make sure that I can maintain my constant state of peace. That doesn't mean that everybody else is going to do what I do the way I do it, and that's fine. I get that. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, we have sprinklers in buildings that never go off.
Right.
But they're there in the event they're needed, and that's kind of how I feel about my gun. Other people think, well, I'll just take my chances and hope that a fire never breaks out in this building, and maybe it won't, But if it does, they don't have any means to control it until the fire department gets there.
In the race world, we put onboard fire suppression in a car.
Mm-hmm.
And the event and the likelihood you're going to use it are greater because you're exceeding the capacity of a lot of drivers and a lot of cars.
Mm-hmm.
So literally in the car world, it is a gun, and you need that.
Mm-hmm.
So I get it. And there are 5-pound bottles, there's 10-pound bottles. Yeah, just like there's 22s and there's 38s and 357s. You ain't going to bring a 22 when you have a nitromethane car. You're going to need a 15-pound SFI rated bottle.
Mm-hmm.
So there's the part of the gun picking the size and doing it properly.
Right.
Any last words of wisdom?
Well, we're always looking for people that are interested in doing what we do. And if they're interested in knowing what it's like to be a trainer, if they want to do good in their community, perhaps, and help other people learn how they can become safer, we're in a world that I don't think is better today than it was years ago. I think it's heading in the wrong direction from that point of view. And there's a lot of people that are concerned and starting to realize that when you see your city being burned down and the police standing by watching it, it's an eye-opening experience for a lot of people who really thought that the police and fire departments were going to take care of them. They're seeing it on TV that, no, you're not.
Mm-hmm. Defund that.
Yeah. So it maybe is a good thing in a way, in that it woke people up, that they need to have the skills and knowledge that maybe they don't have. so they can stay safe. And we need people that'll help share that message.
So a different type of woke.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I like this one. Okay, for Hutcast, Gene German. What was that number again, or the website?
My website is www.permittocarry.us.
.us. So you heard him. Get a hold of him. Reach out to him. Let him know your level of interest here. For Hutcast, we're going to sign off, and that'll be the end of this mini-series. Thank you, Gene. Thank you for coming out.
Thank you, Tim.
And you did great. You rocked this. I do very little editing now because of this. And wow, you did it. Again, Hutcast signing off. Have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your day. And that's a wrap for Hutcast. Today on Hutcast, Gene German in www.permittocarry.us. Phone number there is 612-388-2403 in the Leoso Training Group. So again, for Hutcast, we hope you enjoyed this show. If you like us, give us a thumbs up and tell your friends. Again, for Hutcast, thanks for tuning in.